Ladies and gentlemen, boys and the girls, welcome to Ox Plays. Today we're going to be doing a flight in the Ox Airlines A320, which is a fly-by-wire mod here in the game. And we're going to be flying from de Gaulle in Paris to Gatwick in England. Should be a pretty short flight, but yeah, I'm really excited to start doing some flights in our own custom plane, and we'll see how it goes. So we do have a few things we need to configure before we take off. So climb to 12,000 feet, so we'll set that here. So there's 12,000 feet. Also, it says we're giving it throttle already, but we're not, so let's pull that back. I think the game loaded us in with some throttle. Departure frequency is 125.7, which we'll change that here in a bit. And our squawk code is 2042, so we'll change that here. So 042, 4342. There we go. All right, so let's do, with the parking brake on, we'll get to 50% throttle. We'll double check that. Do our takeoff config. All right, so everything looks good with our throttle. Temperatures look fine. Let's do the config test. Everything's normal. Double check our lights. We're gonna turn this to on for the portable device warning. And let's turn this parking brake off, and we will get going. So we're going to do the max detent there. Push down on the stick till we get to about 80 knots on the throttle. Then we'll start to pull it back. And then once we get to about 140, we will lift off gently. So let's rotate. And we have a positive rate of climb. Put our flaps up, gear up, and we will turn on autopilot and set for 12,000. And we'll let the plane dictate the rate of climb. And as we hit 1,000, we will contact our departure.
125.7 auxiliary 0111123.
And before we tune Paracenter, we're going to go ahead and move the throttle back to CL detent, which is the climb detent, and basically we leave it in that detent down here pretty much until the end of the flight. Taking a look at the flight plan, we have 181 miles to go. And we're landing in Gatwick 26L. So let's just get that ILS frequency. That's 110.9. So we'll go to RNAV 110.9. And that'll be our ILS frequency for the landing. And we'll go ahead and set this up, expand the range there. And then we'll turn on the weather radar here so we can see if there's any storms coming. We'll also go ahead and turn on the fly pad. This livery was made by a guy on Facebook named Gene. Let me pull up his Facebook name just so I can get him the proper recognition. But he did a great job. Gene Marcel's Custom Liveries. He even put the Ox Plays Cup right there, and then also over there. There's a few tweaks that I want to do to this plane still. Going outside, I do want to change the CW icon to an actual Ox Airlines logo, and then for the oxair.com, I'm thinking to change that to an actual domain that we'll buy, but I'm still kind of thinking about all that. So let's go and start cleaning the plane up. So we'll just put that on, retract the landing lights, turn the nose light off, and that should be good. We're at 8,000 feet, so we'll get turn off the portable device and the flashlight, or excuse me, portable device and the seatbelt lights. And then we'll also disarm our ground spoilers, which is done like that. So there's that. We'll fix our QNH, our barometric pressure there. And then taking a look at the flight control surfaces, everything is looking pretty good. So yeah, this plane flies beautifully with this fly-by-wire modification. You can see there the QNH is now beeping. That's because, or blinking rather. That's because we're above 10,000, so we're going to switch it to standard pressure, and we'll go on through our flight. So this is look at the weather here. This is live weather. Leaving Paris, and we're going to head north northwest towards Gatwick. So not the longest flight ever. I probably should have turned these on to keep track of our elapsed time, but there we go. But it is what it is. But yeah, I'm super happy with the way that this livery turned out. The colors, the details, the way that the back swoops down with that yellow just looks absolutely fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and climb to 16,000 feet. And that's done with this knob here. We want to gauge that altitude. And we will begin our climb. But yeah, let's look at this plane some more. He even got the AUX 011 with the American flag turned backwards, which is how it's flown when it's on a vehicle, and then frontwards when it's shown on the side of a craft. So that's real cool. So I think that may have freaked out my game just a bit. Unfortunately, I don't have the greatest graphics card ever. But let's see if we go to performance mode, if that changes anything. But yeah, let me drop myself a bit in the cockpit. We have 10.4 nautical miles until we will make a turn to about 332 degrees. We're coming up on flight level 160. We're at 15,300 and about 15.4. So we may be getting some more instructions from air traffic control shortly. But yeah, taking a look here, looks like we just have a little bit of storms to the northeast of us to watch out for, and then a little bit towards Gatwick, but nothing too significant. Yeah, nothing too significant. I think we're going to avoid a lot of it. It's in that area over there. But yeah, this mod is fantastic. I don't know how, like, if it's study level in terms of, like, you know, that you could maybe do well with the real plane by using this mod, but it is way more advanced than the actual stock the stock plane. And I feel like it's kind of a little bit more of a challenge because there are more things for you to manage and kind of like more things that can go wrong. And I've really enjoyed it. Just taking a look at some of the details here, like things that you can change on this plane that you can't on the real game, like being able to set the temperature in the air conditioning unit, being able to set this button here to the portable devices button. I think that's real cool. The different call buttons that you have, I think, is really neat. It's just a neat little thing. And then, you know, setting like the what is it, the GPS system up here is really neat, the way you do that. Yeah, it's just a real cool mod, and the thing is, it's free. So that's obviously a huge benefit because some of these planes cost, anywhere from 10 to 40, $50. And so for this plane to be this well made and be a freeware project is just super cool. There are some things that I'm not sure, like in the real plane, like this little blank screen up here. I'm not sure what that is for in the real plane, but it's in up here. And then this button here, the PFD/ND transfer to switch these screens, that's in op. And then just kind of a few other buttons, but I mean, generally speaking, a lot of the real critical buttons that I've seen, like actual Airbus A320 sort of like learning references, pretty much all the processes work almost exactly as the real plane. The only thing that doesn't work when you're doing an ILS landing, in certain, I think it's category 3, you're supposed to engage both autopilot 1 and autopilot 2, but you see here in this mod it only lets you select one, whereas in the actual autopilot for the ILS landing, you can select both, and that kind of gives it a little extra redundancy for the landing. So that's something I would like to see. I know there is a mod that you can do to this mod that allows for that, but I haven't looked into it. It's just kind of make your landing a little bit more precise. But yeah, you can see here we're about 27 nautical miles from ABB waypoint, and we will be there in about it says 558, which I assume, yeah, so about 3.5 minutes. Let's go back over. Yeah, it kind of freaked out. Kind of freaked out my game when we went outside the plane, so I don't know how much of that we're going to be doing. I think it is because of the weather. I think my graphics card handles it better in clear skies. And obviously the skies look fairly clear right now, but it is rendering storms in the background and all these clouds and everything. So unfortunately, I'm not able to give you guys the full experience of the plane. But maybe we can do that when we land. All right, Alpha Bravo Bravo as planned. But yeah, let's take a look at the fly pad, check the weather. We'll zoom in just a bit. I did recently pick up, so Dunkirk is here to the north, and I want to do some flying around Dunkirk. I just got the Spitfire. I believe it's by Flying Iron Studios, and that was a little bit of a pricey mod, but holy shit, that plane is absolutely fantastic. It's an interesting plane. It's one of I don't exactly know the type of plane it is, but it's kind of like very difficult to wrangle because I feel like the plane's very front heavy. So anytime you take off and land, it's like as soon as you get to speed, the back wheel lifts off the ground, and then you're kind of like balancing the plane on two wheels. And then same when you're landing, if you brake too hard, the whole front end of the plane tips down and black screens you because it ruins the propellers. So it's an interesting plane to fly. Right now we're at about 290 knots on the speed, so doing pretty good there. We're at 117 miles from where we need to be, so plenty of time still to slow the plane down and descend, and we'll wait for the calls to do that. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of the floodlight on, brighten these panels up. I always like to have them extra bright for no reason at all. We'll turn the wipers off. I'm not sure when I turn that one on, but I don't think they activate in flight, but once you get lower, it will turn on its own. And yeah, let's turn the brightness up on this sort of redundant device here. So 299.1, I think it's supposed to be like that for standard. And yeah, at this point, it's pretty much the plane's flying itself. We're just managing comms, altitude, and any situations that may arise. Earlier, I was doing a test flight in this area. We are actually going to run into some storms here in a bit. But earlier, I was doing some test flights in this area, and it actually triggered the ice on the wing warning. So we had to turn that on. Right now, it says the temperature is 4 degrees Celsius and -13, so I don't believe that will trigger it, but we shall see. As you can see here, the plane's making a bank to the left, and we're heading towards KUNAV. So taking a look at our VFR map here. Let's see exactly where we're at here. So we'll drag this to the middle of the screen. So we're just about to cross here to the motherland. So yeah, we just hit ABB, and now we're on the QNAV, to the QNAV waypoint. We are going to hit some weather here in a bit. Nothing too significant, but we can always keep an eye on that. And go ahead and turn that on also, the constraints button. So that 220 knot, I'm wondering what that is. I think that's a lowering of the speed because of the storm, but I'm not exactly sure. So I'm kind of new to the constraints tab here, which gives us these magenta indicators with different waypoints. But we'll see. We'll see what exactly that means, if they tell us anything when we cross it. Let's also turn up these eCams here. I don't know, I just like everything to be as bright as possible. And everything's looking pretty good. When I was practicing earlier, I think I had a pretty good flight. The only major issues that I had, one was the icing on the wing, and then it was super windy earlier, and I forgot to set the auto brake. But it was pretty windy, so hopefully I won't forget that this go around. So our battery master's up there, and we're just about to leave France and start heading northwest to England. And I actually don't think we could see anything below us with all these clouds, so that'll be an interesting landing, see what the clouds look like. You can see we're getting some glare there on the screens. We'll turn up the glare shield on that. You can see there we just hit a little bit of lightning in the background, so that'll be interesting to see where that is and if that creates any turbulence on the plane. The storm, that is. There you go, a little lightning right there. Love to see it. But yeah, cruising at 290 still, so definitely making some good pace here. 87 miles to Gatwick, and our cruise altitude is set at 16,000. With these short flights, I don't really like to go super high. Basically, you spend the whole time ascending and descending. At least for me, it just seems kind of pointless. Maybe that's not how it's done in real life, but I don't know. So 83 miles left. We're coming up on QNAV in about 15 miles, which would be 6:04 on the clock. So probably about a minute and a half we'll be passing that waypoint. And we are making very good pace on this flight. So I imagine here in a bit we're probably going to start. Actually, we'll go ahead and start slowing down just a bit. Let's see if we can get down to 260. So we'll engage that speed. You can see there the yellow arrow is going to start dropping to meet the blue arrow. That trailing arrow beneath it is the radar speed is decreasing. And then it obviously goes the other way for when it's increasing. And you can see our engines are starting to spool down to get us to that 260 knot threshold. So love to see that. And we are there at 260. Plane is flying great still. We're still in our cruising altitude. And it looks like 40 miles away. That should be our decel point, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's our decel point. So by that point, we do want to be slowed down and start to be pretty well configured for landing. So we'll go ahead and drop down to 250. We'll go up to 240, and we'll see how that goes. I believe our landing speed, let's check our perf page on the, let's see, 129 on the approach and 124 on the landing. So that's kind of where we need to end up at. And it looks like we're about 35 miles from the decel point.
118.475 auxiliary 011 112 tree.
All right.
London Center auxiliary 011 112 tree 16,000 feet. Auxiliary 011 112 tree London Center altimeter 29.9 1 continue to M.S land.
Let's drop down to 220. And we'll start decreasing. Where are we at? 68. We'll do a decrease of 6,000 feet.
Center auxiliary 011 112 tree. Request 10,000 feet.
Let's see if they give it to us.
Auxiliary 011 112 tree descend.
Yep.
10,000 feet.
So we'll go ahead and engage those. Drop by 2,000 feet per minute.
Maintain 10,000 feet auxiliary 011 112.
Now, when we start to descend, we're going to start to pick up some speed. So we're going to go ahead and bring in our speed brake here. Kind of keep everything nice and where we want it to be as we start to get ready for our approach. And I believe we'll satisfy the 220 knot over the AMDUT waypoint. And definitely looks like we're getting closer to our decel point. Looks like it's about 25 miles away. So we'll do good to start decelerating towards that number there. So we're at 14,005, dropping at a very comfortable rate of speed. And let's clear this message there. .4 miles away from the AMDUT waypoint. Weather's still not looking too bad. You can see there's some yellow storms here. Let's drop that down. So we're going to start getting some pretty good storms here in a bit. But nothing red, nothing pink. So we'll see if things get bumpy. We can turn on the seatbelt signs, but I think we should be fine. Let's take a look here at the fly pad. Yeah, just a little bit. Nothing too crazy as we head into Gatwick. Coming at about 12,000 feet, so 2,000 more feet, and we should be where we need to be. And we'll see if they start giving us more instructions as we go. When I was doing the test flight earlier, for some reason they stopped communicating with me, and they were like refusing to let me drop below 17,000 feet. All right, so that's exactly what we wanted to hear. Earlier, they would not let me descend, and it was super annoying. So real quick, looking at the flight chart here, the ATIS frequency for Gatwick is 136.525, so we're going to put that in here. So 136.525. And let's start getting some information about Gatwick. So we'll switch that over to the active frequency.
Gatwick Airport information call 06000 Zulu. Wind 0218. Visibility 6 and heavy rain. Sky condition few clouds at 1,100 feet. Few clouds at 4,100 feet. Few clouds at 11,900 feet. Temperature 15. Dew point 10. Altimeter 29.901. ILS runway 26 left and visual runway 26 right in use. Landing and departing runway 26 left and runway 26 right. DSR aircraft, say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have golf.
All right, so the one thing I need to figure out is if I should be using the baro or the radio. So baro or radio. Let's see if there's an answer for this.
Auxiliary 011123 acknowledge last.
Oops. Should probably acknowledge that landing clearance. That's probably important.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 26 left approach via Timba transition. Cleared to Timba of Auxiliary 011123.
Yeah, we're going to go radio on this one because the weather's pretty bad, I think. So 268 radio. And we're still dropping to 3,000. You can see the standard is blinking now. We need to actually pull this out, or push this in rather, and set this to the proper barometric pressure. See if there's anything else I can find about this. I'm still not sure. So this post says you use baro at any time the chart does not specify DA in the minimum section. You use radio at any time the chart specifies DA in the minimum section. So I think maybe I should be using baro. I was confused about this earlier. So let's just do 268 baro. Let's see what that does for us. This guy says you'll be using baro 99% of the time. Interesting. You can see the visibility is absolutely awful now that we're starting to descend into these clouds. So we are definitely rapidly approaching. So let's start dropping this down to 180. I think we still have our speed brake on too, so we should have no problem getting to 180. And let me just check the VFR map. Yeah, we're definitely getting there. So we need to start getting configured for landing. So we'll drop stage 1 flaps. Help us slow down just a bit. And once we get to 180, we'll start dropping even more. About 150. Yep, so past 180, we'll keep going. Yeah, you can see this visibility is absolutely awful. It almost makes me want to do radio. I feel like this would be a radio landing. So let's just YOLO it. Let's YOLO it. All right, so 150, we're hitting that. Drop flap stage 2. I'm gonna set that auto brake now so I don't forget about it. We could probably bring up the speed brake. I don't think we need it anymore. We'll lock in the spoilers, and we'll go flaps 3, flaps 4, and then start dropping to 129er on the speed, which will be right there. We're at 3,000, so we're definitely at that altitude. You can see the rain starting to hit the windshield. So, we'll just keep an eye on that. We are, it says 54 miles away, but I find sometimes this doesn't update. I don't know if that's a bug as well, but you can see clearly here we're about 25 miles from Gatwick, so we're going to set this to 20. Just take a look at our VFR charts. We're going to turn on ILS also. That'll give us these little indicators here. We'll see a magenta for the left and right, and a magenta for the up and down. It'll be a little diamond, and as we approach the localizer and the glide slope, it will the plane will capture that once we turn on approach mode. I'm not ready to switch to ILS here on the interface here. We're not fully where I want to be for that, but go ahead and drop the landing gear and let's see what else we need to do. Flaps are full. That's set there. Ground spoilers are armed. At this point, I would maybe say go ahead and do that. Get the crew ready for get the cabin crew ready for landing. Turn on the landing lights. Set this to taxi. That looks good there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and turn the seatbelt signs on and the portable device signs as well. So there's that. And at this point, we're pretty much fully configured for landing. We are, let's see, just about 20 miles from Gatwick. Weather still looks like shit. I would say almost zero visibility. Actually, just a little bit. It is clearing up just a bit. But this is definitely going to be one of those landings where we're not going to really see anything till right when we're on top of the airport. So if this sucks and we crash the plane, I'm sorry you wasted 30 minutes. But we'll see what happens. All right. So we are still, you can see that green diamond down there. That's sort of the waypoint that we're supposed to be following. And you can see as we get closer to Gatwick, it's going to turn basically straight north and then start to bank to the west. And once we get onto that final west vector, we'll see those diamonds start to appear, and we'll be able to start selecting approach. See, it's raining pretty good. I wonder, let me see, I'm gonna risk my computer getting upset at me. But if we go to fix cam, I believe this is, let's see, is it 14, 13? There we go. So you can see there the flaps are up. This is from the inside of the plane, and then they're down as well. So we're definitely, actually, let me get this off the screen. There you go. You guys can see that. I think that looks pretty cool. Let's see if we can switch back to the other seat. Yep. I think it's neat to see the wings flexing as the plane's flying. I just think that looks super cool. Yep, so flaps and slats are good. And we'll go back to the cockpit where the plane's yelling at us. Alright, so we're 2,500 feet above sea level. You can see there we now have that pink diamond on the vertical track here, and we're still trying to catch up to both of these, though again we probably won't get near them until we kind of approach that final vector. But we're heading there. We're getting there. Let's bring the speed up just a bit, maybe 140. I think that should be good. Just give us a little bit more pace for that landing. And then we'll drop it as we get closer to final. We'll set this one to 40. Actually, we'll do this one to 10. Yeah, we're in. Actually, we're starting to get some clear skies. Not too bad. We got out of the rain at least. But it looks like we are going to start getting back into it here in a bit. Yeah, we're flying right into a cloud, so that's fun. But yeah, this is what we're doing. So let's check the VFR here. We're going to start banking right north after the May waypoint. And we should start doing that here in a bit. Yep, there we go. Plane's starting to bank. You can see there on the indicator there. And we're maintaining 3,000 feet. Let's contact Gatwick approach. Probably should have done that a few minutes ago. All right, we can do that. We could definitely do that. Flight time thus far, I know I hit the button a bit late, but it's been about 30 minutes, maybe 35, 36 minutes in the air. Definitely great time there. It amazes me because we live in Texas, and flying from even flying from like Houston to El Paso is a pretty decent flight. Here you can fly from Paris, which is I imagine a beautiful city, to Gatwick and see the sweet angel Ian in his neck of the woods. And it's like a 35-minute flight. That blows my mind. We are definitely making great pace. You can see there now this is updated. So it says we're 18 miles away. And I think that's probably still not super accurate, but that's definitely more accurate than it has been. Unless it's counting us the amount of north we have to go, then the amount of west we have to go from our current position, maybe. I think that could be a thing. I think that probably is what that is. So let's clear out here. Let's look at our perf page. Yep, looks like we're good on that. Actually, we need the wind. Can we switch back to the ATIS? Let's see. All right, so 032 at 10. Perfect. So Gatwick is basically almost directly to the west of us. So once we get to that USR waypoint, we will turn west, and then we'll be able to kind of get fully configured in the approach phase. We'll select this button here, and that'll start to capture us to the localizer and the glide slope. You can see there the frequency is set 110.9. It's 12 nautical miles away, and ILS runway 26 left. So everything looks good there. You can see we're starting to see that pink diamond. As we get closer, that'll start to lower, and eventually it'll intercept with our 3,000 feet per minute, or 3,000 altitude rather. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that as well. 2,000 feet. And
2,500.
We'll do that at 2,000 feet per minute, because we do need to do that ASAP as possible.
2,500.
Yes, I did.
Descend and maintain 2,000 feet auxiliary 011112 tree.
Typically in these kind of planes, it's my understanding you would just dispense rain repellent. If it was that bad, you wouldn't actually use the wipers. You can use them now that we're, I think, low and slow enough, but I think typically you would do that. But you can see there in-up, if I select it, it says you can press the button, but nothing actually happens. I think that would be kind of a fun little feature to have. I don't know. I do a lot of rain flying, trying to practice at kind of like more adverse conditions, and I don't know. I think that'd be neat. Because these don't really do anything at all to the rain, so They're kind of just for show. Okay, looks like we're going to start turning west here in a bit, which is fantastic. And I believe that gives us a little bit of a tailwind for the landing, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll start that turn now. We'll go ahead and hit the approach on. You can see there we're Cat 3 single. Our altitude glide slope is in blue. Localizer has been captured. You can see this pink diamond starting to make its way towards our plane as we start to turn to heading 260. And we've captured the localizer. You can see the plane's just kind of adjusting to get right onto it. So that looks pretty good. We're going to start capturing the glide slope shortly. Drop this down to 10 miles. And we need to drop our speed down just a little bit for the landing. So that dropped perfectly fine. And yeah, it looks like we do have a little bit of a tailwind, I think. We have not captured the glide slope yet. I imagine we'll do that as we get a little bit closer. We are still 9 miles out, so this is not looking terrible. Still have almost no visibility. And I believe Cat 3 single is the situation where you would turn on both. All right, let's do that.
Tower on 124.23 auxiliary 011.112 tree. Gatwick Tower auxiliary 011.112 tree 8 miles east inbound ILS runway 26 left approach.
All right, perfect.
AUX 011.112 tree Gatwick Tower. Altimeter 29.9 4 wind 042 at 12. Cleared ILS runway 26 left approach.
So we do need to change this to 29.94 there. Let's double check the ATIS.
Gatwick Airport Information Hotel 06000. Wind 042 at 12. Visibility 6 and heavy rain. Sky condition few clouds at 1,100 feet. Few clouds at 4,100 feet.
Okay, that looks good. Let's acknowledge our landing clearance also. We are 5 miles above. And I believe our vertical landing speed was 124, so we'll set that here. And at this point, we're pretty much fully configured for landing. Our glide slope is green, localizer is green. Those are both captured there. We are 1,160 feet from the runway. We can see it, so we do have visual. You can see it there just barely. I'm going to turn off the floodlight for now. All right, we're at 1,000 feet. The PAPI indicators look good. Those should be 2 red, 2 white, pretty much up until the very end. And that's what this horizontal diamond represents there. That we're coming in at I think it's 3-degree angle. Auto brake medium. Let me just double check the crew is all in position for this landing. Yep, looks good. Signs are on, cabin ready, spoilers are armed, flaps are full, landing lights are down, and auto brake is set to medium. We're at 500 feet above, getting some pretty good wind. You can see the plane's kind of shaking there. Not sure how this looks on the computer, on the stream rather. Might be a little jittery. Sometimes with these airports they do get a little messy on the landing.
100 above. 300. Minimum.
Okay, this is our minimum decision altitude. We are right above the threshold. We're going to keep autopilot on until right now. Autopilot's off. My plane. You can see the plane getting hit with a pretty good gust of wind right there. Turn the throttle off
50,
and we'll start our flare.
30, 20, 10,
Let's hold the flare and
5,
we will touch down, get those brakes going. And welcome to Gatwick. All right, let's see if we can copy that. Let's see if they'll... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let me... trying to hold the brakes here. Let's get taxi to parking.
Taxiing to gate 86 via taxiway Echo Cross runway 08 left Tango Juliet Romeo Kilo auxiliary 011112 tree.
All right, that was a mouthful. Let's get onto this. I believe this is a runway, so we gotta kind of have some pace about it. But we're gonna head to gate 86. And taxiing is my absolute least favorite part of the entire game. But let's see if we can run through it and show you guys some cool looks at the model on the ground. I think that was a pretty decent landing. I don't think that was bad at all. Definitely some pretty nice gusts of wind there at the very end, but definitely not too bad. Lower our throttle just a bit. I think we're coming a little too hot. But yeah, if you've stayed to this point, I appreciate you watching. I know Ox Plays isn't the most glamorous collecting weekly show, but I do have a lot of fun playing this game. I feel like I'm learning a lot. And who knows, maybe one day you'll play too, and we can play together. Ian, this is his domain. And I think he said in terms of like the modeling, it's actually fairly decent compared to what it looks like in the real life. I think he said there was a few things that were missing, but I think overall, I think he was pretty impressed. We do need to actually put our flaps up and put our spoilers down, so we'll do that. And while we got some straight stuff ahead of us, we'll start turning off some of these lights so we don't look like douches. And of course, they could take their seatbelts off. Okay, let me focus on this. On driving the plane, which is somehow almost more difficult than flying the plane. Watch out, dude. Okay, I'm gonna have to cheat and go outside the plane for this because I fucking suck at taxiing. Alright, let's give it the old college try. Alright, so I think he's telling us to come closer, come closer, come closer, a little bit to the left. And stop. I think that should be good. We will lock in the parking brake. Probably shouldn't forget to do that. And then let's turn on the external power, turn off the batteries, and shut the engines down. And then at this point, we can start getting everything for the peoples of the world to get off our plane. Actually, let me turn off these lights because I just look like a douche. Perfect. So they're going to start unloading luggage and whatnot, getting the catering stuff done. Let me see if I can. I do need to actually get off of external power just for a second, so the game can log my flight. We'll get it back on. There. There we go. Okay, let's go back here. Now, after a landing, the brakes are pretty hot, so we'll turn on the brake fan there. and you guys probably can't hear it, but it is quite loud on the in the headphones. But yeah, that was our flight. Everything's pulling back for a second because I had the oh no, come back. Let's see, does it need to be blue? Everything's pulling back because I had, yeah, there we go. I had turned off the power, so it kind of freaks the game out for a second. But I did want to save that flight because that was actually a pretty decent flight. But yeah, thank you guys for watching Ox Plays. Hopefully this video turned out good. I actually can't tell until after the video is done, but they're going to get these people's luggage off the plane. They're going to deal with all the catering stuff back there. And yeah, I think that was a good quick flight. Show off our new livery. Hopefully when we get our new logo for Ox Airlines, we'll be good to go. So thank you guys